So I really figured out how much I had turned on my manifesting machine in April 2018. And I went to the Denver Home Expo, and I don't know if you've ever been to a home expo. They're like huge warehouses with like hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of vendors. And there are 15 in the Denver Home Expo on a busy day. It was a beautiful Saturday in April. There was between 15 and 20,000 people, participants wandering around this giant warehouse on that day. And I was walking with my husband, and this one booth caught my eye. We had just bought our house about a month earlier, and or this booth caught my eye, and they were giving away 100 Home Depot gift certificates for $500. And I was like, ooh, I've won in the past. I've been able to win some door prizes and, big giveaways and stuff like that. I was like, I'm feeling lucky. I will absolutely put my name in the hat and hopefully win this Home Depot gift certificate. I didn't hardly even notice that the grand prize they were giving away it was either 4 or 5 day, all expensive paid vacation trip to Mexico for two. But I was just so set. I was like, I'm going to win this Home Depot gift certificate. So I fill out the piece of paper. I put my name in. I submit it. I forget all about it. And then 3 days later, ring, ring, ring. Kitty, guess what? You're the lucky winner. Out of 20,000 people, it was me. I won the all-inclusive paid vacation free trip to Mexico. What's even crazier is that year that was the first of 7 free vacations I won in 12 months. Not kidding. And in fact, the very final vacation, I was on a free vacation and I won another free vacation on that vacation. So anyways, I got really clear what I wanted was a vacation. We had just bought a home, so I didn't have a lot of capital to spend. And so I just started manifesting all these free vacations. And it was in the moment that I was the 1 in 20,000 winner. I realized that I had finally figured out the secret recipe of how to become a manifesting machine. So that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to share with you, we're going to debunk the myths around manifestation. We're going to talk about the neuroscience and quantum physics that show up and like scientifically back manifestation. We're going to talk about the challenges that we face in manifestation and how I think about them as like potholes on the journey or detours on this road trip of our manifestation. So we'll talk about the challenges that are very commonly faced and how we can work through them and kind of get around them. And then we will end this presentation with I have the 4-step recipe of how you can become a manifesting machine and an offer if you feel inspired to learn more about how I can help you become a manifesting machine. So that's what we're working on today. And so just a little bit about me is I have a neuroscience degree from CU Boulder because a lot of you may know me, but you just might not know this information. So I just wanted to do another quick little introduction. So I have a neuroscience degree from CU Boulder. I literally worked as a neuroscientist for almost 10 years, a behavioral neuroscience neurophysiologist is what I was. And I studied how the structure of your brain changes your behavior and how your behavior actually changes and sculpts the structure of your brain. Quite fascinating and quite fascinating information. And I absolutely loved science. And I really found myself wanting to help people in the day-to-day life. Also, you wouldn't look at me and be like, yeah, she's a bench scientist. I just didn't have I wasn't a good personality fit. And I really loved research, but I'm still getting publications from the work I did 20 years ago because there's such a lag. And I found that because I have 9 peer-reviewed scientific journals, including neuroscience, the Journal of Neuroscience. Like I have a lot of very prolific neuroscience publications, and they're still coming out. And I wanted to help people like today. I wanted the instant gratification of seeing smiling faces in person and on the screen. So about 8 years ago, it was 2017 is when I left. So yeah, 8 years ago, I became a magnetic mind coach. I left neuroscience, and magnetic mind coaching is all about just getting crystal clear in what your heart's deepest desire is, using neuroscience-based tools to help you become magnetic for your dreams by releasing resistance, which could be fear, self-doubt, procrastination, unworthiness. I'm a certified meditation coach, certified in mindset, NLP, superconscious recoding, like you name it. If it's around neuroscience, I am probably trained in it already. So anyways, I just wanted to share a little bit about my background. And like I said, I am a manifesting machine. Besides the 7 free vacations I won that year, in the last 3 years, I have manifested amazing opportunities that came out of nowhere, including 10 of my lifetime bucket list achievements that I was like, by the time I die, I want to, for example, become a best-selling author and all these things. And these opportunities, once I got clear on what I wanted, the how just appeared and magical. You'll keep hearing the stories about how I have become a manifesting machine. So we'll get rocking and rolling. So just we're on the same page. What is manifesting? It is focusing your thoughts on something you want, like to bring to life. And it's trying to make your thoughts into things. And so before we go any further, I would love, and if you want to play along, you can pop in the chat or you can even unmute if you feel so inclined. I said this earlier and we had somebody else join. If you unmute, you will be on the recording that's sent to some other people. So if you don't want to do that, put it in the chat. What is the one thing you want to manifest more than anything else in the world? Like if you had to pick one thing, what do you want to manifest? And I'll give you a minute to think about it. If you feel so inclined, you can share or pop it in the chat. But at least thinking about it and holding it in your mind is so important, because as we go through the rest of this presentation, you can start thinking about, oh, if this is what I want to manifest, this is a challenge I might face around manifesting that thing. Because there are some very obvious challenges associated with common things that we all like to manifest. So I just wanted to share that. Just think about and maybe even write down what you want more than anything in the world. An abundant life where you don't have to worry about money. I love that. And we're going to talk a lot about money today. And in fact, my next couple webinars are all about manifesting abundance. So I'll be sure you're invited to those. So thank you so much for sharing. So Albert Einstein said this, and he said it honestly almost 100 years ago. It was like 1931 or something. Everything is energy, and that's all there is to it. If you can match the frequency of the reality you want to create, you cannot help but create it. There can be no other way. This is not a philosophy. This is physics. And so if Albert Einstein says that manifestation is proven by quantum physics, I'm willing to trust him as an expert, but let's dig into what are the 2 scientific phenomenon and the experiments that prompted him to say this quote so we can understand it a little bit. And I want to share, we're going to talk about 2 scientific phenomenon, and there are tens of thousands of pages of scientific papers, if not hundreds of thousands of pages of scientific papers written on this exact subject. And so I just want to share the subject we're talking about. I'm going to give you like a 1-paragraph version, but feel free to look at it more. If you ever want to talk more science, I'm happy. I know a lot of quantum physics, and I'm happy to get deep with you. So anyways, the double slit experiment, and this is really fun. It was in 1927 is when this experiment started, and they've actually been continuously doing it for 98 years because they're trying to understand how it works. And so they just keep doing these variations to see how it works. So let me explain it to you a little bit. And before we get started, I want to share that these pictures are not at different magnification. This is the same amount of zoom between these both of these pictures. I just wanted to share that because some people are like, it's an optics trick. It's not. So what happened is these scientists, they have a machine that fires a single electron because they wanted to know, is an electron a wave or a particle? Like, what is its shape and how does it act? And so they turned on this electron firing machine, and let's say they went to lunch and they did this experiment, and it showed up as not observed. This is a wave pattern. And then, as any good scientist does, they came back from lunch, they repeated the experiment while they were watching the machine fire the individual electrons. And strangely, when they were watching the machine, it showed up in this particle pattern, this observed pattern. And they're like, well, that's weird. That doesn't make any sense. And they repeated it again and again. If they're not watching, it's this. If they're watching, it's this. If they're not watching, it's not observed. If they're observing it, it shows up in this observed pattern. And they're like, what the heck is going on? And so the 98 years of research is they've now had animals, all sorts of different animals watch the electron firing machine. It shows up as not observed. They've had computers and AI watch the electron firing machine. It shows up as not observed. They've had people watching a live stream in another room, and it shows up as observed. And then they've had people watch a recording, but the electron firing machine was happening, and then the recording was watched like an hour later. It shows up as not observed. And the most interesting variation that they did is they actually had this electron firing machine. They set up a live stream, and they had somebody, but it was like 3,000 or 5,000 miles away watching the live stream, and it showed up as observed. Oops. So what the heck? Like, how does this electron machine know that it's being observed by a human, and why does it change the results? So basically, what these many different variations have taught us is electrons act differently when they're consciously observed by a human. And again, not by AI, not by animals, like human consciousness, live time in that moment being watched, the electrons showed up differently. So what does this mean for manifestation? Your consciousness affects matter outside of you and changes the outcome. In the 3D world, you can change the outcome by watching something, by looking at something. And I find this really fascinating because the applications are endless. If you can observe your thoughts, if you can increase your self-awareness, if you can work on regulating your emotions or shifting your behaviors, you actually make things more or less likely to manifest, to become real in your 3D world. So let's say what you want to manifest, the example was more money. If you were to, sorry, I swallowed funny. If you were to take the time and effort to, let's say, improve your money mindset, change how you speak about money, change how you think about money, get training around money, change your relationship so money is a friend, change how shift and like improve how you feel about money and your behaviors, like maybe be more aware about your spending, find new ways to create more money in your life. You cannot help but create more money in your life because that's what you're focusing on, that's what you're manifesting. And conversely, if you're wanting to manifest more money, but you're being avoidant of looking at your finances, or you're being unconscious about your spending, or you're not taking any action to shift your thoughts and your awareness and your emotions and your language around money, you're actually making it less likely to manifest money. And so this is what's so empowering. Like, not only can we change things using our thoughts, we can change things in the 3D world, but we can make it more or less likely to manifest our dreams. And there's a lot of other scientific experiments that have shown this, but this is like the oldest and most classically observed phenomenon in quantum physics around manifestation. So the next scientific experiment, Albert Einstein is famously quoted as calling quantum entanglement spooky action at a distance, because even to this day, we have no idea how it works. And what it was, and again, this is almost 100 years ago, they had these two particles and they got them entangled. They connected these particles. And then they noticed when they separated these particles, when you moved one particle, the other particle moved instantaneously. And so they started playing with, well, how far apart, like what's the time lag based on distance? Because the fastest thing we know in and Newtonian physics, which is what we were taught in high school and things like that, the fastest thing we know is the speed of light. And it would take, milliseconds lag if you put them far away. So they entangled these particles, and then they literally took them to opposite sides of the world, put on a stopwatch. They affected one particle. The other particle was instantaneously affected. Not 5 minutes later, not 5 seconds later, not even 5 milliseconds later, instantaneously. When you move one, you move the other. And And again, the speed of light says that there would have been at least a few milliseconds, if not many seconds or minutes delay at that distance. So to this day, we have no idea how this mechanism works of quantum entanglement, but there's other examples outside of quantum physics of this happening. And like, I don't know, I've heard this from, there's studies that, lots of studies that have been done on identical twins. And there's been identical twins where one twin has a heart attack and the other twin is 1,000 miles away and clutches their chest and is like, oh my God, my twin's having a heart attack. Like they know instantaneously in a way that doesn't make any sense. There's no explanation behind it. So there's been a lot of twin studies that have shown that, but I've also talked to people in their everyday life that are like mothers and they're like, and I felt it to a lesser extent with my husband. One day at tune, I was like, oh, my husband's having a bad day. I need to call him. And I like sent him an encouraging text or called him or whatever. And he was like, how did you know? I was like, I had a sense because we were connected on this subatomic level that no matter the distance, you feel that. So anyways, I wanted to share some of the applications of what that looks like in 3D life. It's not just a thought experiment. Like this actually happens to us when we're deeply connected to a human. So anyways, what the heck does this have to do with manifestation is what you might be asking yourself. Well, you and your dream are two entangled particles. And you know this because if you have your dream has you too. Like every time you visualize your dream or think about your dream, you are literally increasing the connection. And I think about it as like this golden thread. And it's like you have this thought or the idea, you have one golden thread. But every time you visualize it, every time you daydream, every time you think about it, every time you take action, you're just sewing this thread to be stronger and stronger, and then it goes from like an individual string to like a cord to a rope to eventually, becomes like one of those cruise ship chains that's so thick. You're always pulling your dream to you when every time you're just thinking about the dream that you want. So anyways, you and your dream are two entangled particles, and what's so fun is when you take one step towards your dream can take up to 1,000 steps towards you. And I have multiple examples in my personal life and in my clients and all of this, seeing them one action step in the 3D world after lots of visualization or daydreaming about something they want. And I'll tell you a story in a minute, but I just wanted to repeat that. If you have your dream has you too, and you are entangled particles. So enough about the quantum physics. Let's just get a little bit more into the science of manifestation before we start working in the myths and the how-tos and the challenges. Everything is energy. Albert Einstein said this, and I'm willing to trust him as an expert in quantum physics. And if everything is energy, that means each thought, each belief, each emotion has an energy associated with it. And to give you a frame of reference, you have up to 80,000 thoughts a day. You have up to tens of thousands of beliefs stored in your subconscious memory. And you have up to 129 emotions that you can cycle through each and every one of them dozens of times every day. So every emotion, every thought, every belief that you have is like projected outside of you with this measurable energy. And together, all of your thoughts, all of your emotions, all of your beliefs, and your attitude are actually creating an energetic field around you. And this is a picture from HeartMath. HeartMath has measured our field. This is what it looks like. And the shape is called a torus. And I would describe this as like a really cakey donut where there's like no hole in the middle because it's expanded in, but you're standing in the middle of the donut. So anyways, this is a torus, a toric field. And HeartMath has shown that people have these fields. Most people's field is about 3 to 6 feet. If you know me at all, I have big energy. And I've actually, when my field was measured, my field is 16 feet every direction of me. So my field is 32 feet where the average field is 12, which if you get to know me at all, I have big energy. I make a big impact. I've got literally, it's not just metaphorically, I literally have big energy. So anyways, HeartMath has proved this. You can get your energetic field measured. And what's fun is everybody I've known that feels like people would describe them as like a powerful force in like their personality. Other people I've met also have large fields like myself, a couple fun, notable people. But anyways, just wanted to share. So HeartMath has proven this. And what happens is if your beliefs and emotions are being projected in your field goes around the world informing people of who you are before you ever talk to them. And has that ever happened? Like there was one time, I'll never forget this. I was at a dinner party, or like a potluck, and I was facing away from the door and somebody opened the door. I didn't hear anything. I didn't see anything, but I was like, whoever that is, I don't like their vibe. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. I was like, am I judging that person? And then much later I found out, I was like, no, that's not the type of person I like to be around. And same thing is like if you walk in a room and you're like, you randomly pick the people to talk to, you often have a lot in common with them because you are attracted. And it's not, and it's really your emotions and your beliefs. Your subconscious is what's projecting the vast, because yes, you have 80,000 thoughts, but most of those are not most of those are subconscious. Your beliefs are subconscious. Your emotions are subconscious. So really it's your subconscious that is informing this field around you and attracting things in your life. And so like if you wake up and you're having a bad day, what you like, you have that thought, I'm having a bad day. Maybe you have a bad mood or an emotion and anger or whatever in your field. Your energy field wants to prove you right because that's a job of the subconscious. So it starts going through the days like, how many things can I attract to make Kitty have a bad day? And so that's why it's not Murphy's Law. Murphy's Law doesn't exist. It's your energy in your energetic field attracting things to make you right. And the same thing is true for a positive day. Have you ever woke up and had one of those days where you're like, I don't know why, but I'm on the right side of the bed. Everything's on fire that day. You get compliment, like all these good things happen because you are projecting that into your field and receiving exactly back, because like attracts like. And if like attracts like, then love attracts love. And so this is one of the coolest charts I've ever seen in my entire life. This is from Dr. David Hawkins in a book called Power versus Force. And this is what he calls the map of consciousness, but I would call it a frequency chart of emotions. So notice that each emotion has an energy, a frequency associated with it. And higher level emotions, probably higher level emotions have a higher energy level. And there's no such thing as a good or a bad emotion. Emotions are our guidance system. So it's not like these are the, I don't want to say like these are the bad or the negative emotions. They're not. If you've experienced something that would cause grief, grief is a very valid and useful emotion in that moment. And I just want to say that notice that the emotions you probably want to spend less of your life in, like shame and guilt and fear, those have lower numbers than love and joy and peace. They're really high numbers on the frequency scale. And so higher frequency levels attracts higher frequency things to you, because if you're in this place of like deep peace, you're projecting a frequency of 600 into your field, you're going to attract things that give you peace. And that's part of the problem of how we go through this world, is we're unconsciously in anger or desire. Desire is very interesting because desire is scarcity. And so a lot of us are like, I want more money, or I don't have time, I don't have money. So we go through the world in this place of desire, and then we just recreate experiences, opportunities, people. We attract all these things that reinforce this desire, this need, this I don't have what I want, I need to get there feeling. So anyways, just wanted to give a little side comment about that. But I know my experience of this is when I was in the honeymoon stage of a relationship with my husband, my life was spectacular. Like it could not have gotten any better. I got unexpected money that just kept coming to me. I got bonuses and raises at my job. I won awards. I got kudos. Everybody wanted to be my friend. People wanted to give me stuff. Everybody wanted to be around me because I was walking around life in a 500 frequency, like all the time, because I was so in love with my husband. I was just radiating that energy. And then I attracted things that reinforced, that made me right, that made me feel like I was loved. And then I just put more love into the field and I attracted more. And so it becomes this forward feeding cycle of whatever the emotion you're in. So higher level emotions attract higher energy things to you, like more desirable, generally speaking. And I just want to share that, like I said, every emotion has its place and space. And if you're let's say you're in a place of apathy, and you're like, okay, I've felt this emotion, because I'm not saying don't feel, please do feel your emotions, allow them to be present in your body. They last for 2 minutes in your body. That's Dr. Joe Dispenza has done all this research on that. And if they're lasting more than 2 minutes and you're done experiencing that emotion of for me, a very common emotion is shame for some reason. Like I do something and then I'm like ashamed of myself that I misspoke and said the wrong word or something. Like this is a default for me. For whatever reason, because of how I was raised, or doesn't matter where I got there. But let's say I'm experiencing shame and I'm ready to transmute that emotion. I'm ready to be done with it. Gratitude is the answer. So gratitude, notice it's not listed on this chart because it's actually 900. It's well into enlightenment. And so if you are ready to transmute and shift and change your emotions, the answer is gratitude. And back when I had was in depression, that was the most frustrating answer I ever got. Well, just do a gratitude journal. And I was like, I don't have anything to be grateful for. Of course I did, but I couldn't see it, and that's okay. And I, through the love and encouragement of actually my husband at the time, he was like, he helped me work through these things. And I was like, oh my God, every time I do my gratitudes, I feel grateful for minutes, hours, days afterwards. And so I developed this practice, and I literally pulled myself out of deep depression and despair into this place of love and joy using gratitude. And so I know that it works. And whenever, and part of it is because how frequency works is your general frequency is like, how many minutes of the day are you in grief? How many minutes of the day are you in willingness? How many minutes of the day are you in peace? And you add up all the emotions that you're experiencing over the day and then average them. And so if you keep adding 900 into that number, even if it's for 5 minutes, you're pulling yourself up, you're pulling your number up. And then it's very forward creative energy. Once you hit courage, which is this certain point where you feel empowered and life is exciting, it's really easy to go up really fast. So I just wanted to share gratitude is always the answer to transmute your emotion. So now that we've talked about the science, let's get straight into manifesting. So there is a book and a movie called The Secret by Rhonda Byrne. I think that's her name. Anyways, the popular media took the book The Secret and ran with it. And it's a great book, but she missed part of telling you the equation. And it's presented as it's the whole truth, but there's not everything there. And so that's why manifestation has got this like bad name in the media, because popular media has said things like, based on the book, The Secret, and other things, just think positive thoughts and then you'll bring positive things into your life. Well, that's true. I talked about when I was in love, I attracted positive things in my life, but that was like garden variety positive. If you want to manifest something specific, you have to take action towards that thing. Otherwise, the universe, like you, it'll just bring you things that are at whatever frequency level, but it won't bring you the specific thing you want unless you take action towards it. And then this picture is actually me and my husband high-fiving in front of my clinic. And this is a perfect story to describe why you need to take action in the 3D world. And because like imagine if what you want is a lake house, if you spend the next 25 years visualizing the lake house, thinking positive thoughts, meditating, being this positive energy, it is unlikely someone's going to walk in your living room and be like, here's the deed to your lake house. You need to take action. And I wanted to own this clinic for many years, this wellness center. But I wasn't taking any action. I was visualizing it every day. And I was in the place of like, well, but that's a lot of money. And I had a lot of excuses. And I had a coach, and I had spent visualizing this every single day as a dream that I wanted. And I had a coach that was like, wait, why aren't you taking any action on this? As a frame of reference, it was May 5th, 2020. And I live in Denver, Colorado, and our world was still half shut down. Like wellness centers weren't even fully open yet. And I was like, oh no, having a brick and mortar is a liability. And what if the world gets shut down? And I proceeded to give her 10 minutes of reasons why it was a bad idea. And she was like, okay, so what was your excuse 6 months ago? And I was like, ooh, feeling really called out right now. Like, and so, anyways, and she challenged me and she said, if you want this, figure out an action you can take in the next 2 weeks that will help get you to your clinic. One action. So I meditated on it, I reflected on it, and I decided, I was like, oh my gosh, I have great project management skills, and all of the wellness practitioners are struggling right now because they're having to manage their business healing people and all this new protective equipment and all these new like COVID rules to keep people safe and whatever. And I was like, I could come in and I could manage the PPE and the new rules and regulations and the paperwork that you had to submit. I could do that for them in exchange for mentorship. And then they could train me, they could teach me how to be a clinic so I could manage their clinic. It was basically what I settled on. And I got clear what I wanted was I wanted it to be within 15 minutes of my house. I wanted it to be 3 to 5 hours a week because I had a coaching business. And I wanted this person to really see me be successful. Like they wanted to mentor me, not just like, bare minimum work with me. So I was like, well, what action step can I take? I want a job. What's the most obvious answer for getting a job? So I started writing a resume, detailing my project management experience, all these things. 5 days later, I found myself in a social, like Polka Dot Powerhouse one-to-one connect. And I ended the call with this woman, like, how can I support you? And she was like, well, do you know anybody who wants to manage a clinic? I was like, maybe. Tell me more. It's 14 minutes from your house. It's 3 to 5 hours a week. And I would love, she'd inherited this location from another wellness practitioner. And she was like, I would love for somebody, when I move my business to Arizona in 2 years, I would love for somebody to take this clinic over for me. Like I'm going to move my business, but they could open in this space. That way the community still has a wellness center in this location. What? I was like, oh, it's me. I want to manage your clinic. She was like, great, you're hired. The point of why I tell that story is it's not, to this day, no one has ever seen that resume ever. But all I needed to do was take one action in the 3D world, and I was able to attract what I wanted on the silver platter, but it didn't need to be the right action. And I say this because I think so many of us, at least myself, I get stuck in analysis paralysis. Okay, I want to hit $250,000 in my business this year. What is the marketing strategy that's going to get me to $250,000? And I spend so much time trying to figure out what that strategy is and sitting in an analysis paralysis. I never take any action. I'm not doing any of the things that are going to get me there because I need it to be the right action. So I just want to share with you when it comes to manifestation, any old action will do as long as you think it could be the right action. Given the choices you have at the time, it feels like your best option. So that is the right action to take. Don't get hung up on the correct action or the end all be all of action. So that is the biggest myth around manifestation. Now let's jump into the 4 challenges that we all face around manifestation. And I said this a minute ago, but I really think about like whatever you want, I think about it like a destination on a road trip. And like your journey to manifest it is driving your vehicle yourself along this road trip. And so these are the potholes or the detours or the obstacles you may face on the pathway to manifesting, whatever it is you were thinking about in the beginning. So number 1 is we get too attached to either the outcome or the path. And I sat this way for a really long time in my business because my manifestation power statement in my business was, I want to make more money in my business. There's 2 things wrong with this sentence. Not wrong, but there's 2 things in this sentence that made me not able to manifest. The word want, because again, desire or want, it means that I don't have it. It means that there's a positive charge on the money, but you can only manifest from a neutral space. I need is a negative charge. I want is a positive charge, but you can only manifest from neutral. So and I'm going to pop this in the chat so everybody have it. I do all my manifestation power statements start now with I choose. I choose to make more money. I choose to attract more abundance is the end of the manifestation power statement. And that is you can please use that if you want, the manifestation power statement that is the most, it's generic because it fits for everybody, but if what you want to make is more money, I choose to attract more abundance is the highest vibrational sentence you can use around that. And notice I left off in my business. And this is where I got hung up for a really long time because I was so focused on the path of making money in my business that it's kind of like I had these binoculars on and I was looking through, I was like looking at the money in my business And I was ignoring all the abundance that was around me. And I was focused on how this one channel of abundance wasn't the money that it wasn't the amount that I wanted it to be. And I got really clear. So I've been wanting for 14 years. I wanted to rent a sailboat and go to this event in Greece that happens on yachts in the Mediterranean. And I've been wanting to do it from 2010 to 2010 to 2024. And in 2023, all signs were leaning up that we could go. And in the end, we weren't able to finance it. And so, or we chose not to finance it because it was not a wise decision for us. And I was devastated. And I was like, no, I lost my dream. And so when we couldn't go to that event in September 2023, I got serious about my manifesting. And I was like, what do I need to do to manifest the money I need for this trip? And I ballparked, I was like, just the plane tickets and the yacht and the whatever was going to be about $6,000 to $8,000. So I started looking at all of my manifestation practices with this like deep fine tooth comb and refining. And what I noticed, not only did I upgrade the word want to choose, I dropped the in my business because I was like, I don't care. I was like, I will receive money in whatever way it wants to come to me. I will. And so that was like what I declared to the universe. Send me aligned opportunities for me to make money in whatever way. And if it's aligned, I'll go for it. And all I need to do is I just need to check, is this aligned for me to do? Like, will it burn me out or not? That's like what I mean by aligned. And some of some of the money I got came like in ways that weren't to my preference or whatever. But like I had this woman that hired me. She needed me like 6 times in the span of 8 months. She needed me 6 times to help her in her business, but she gave me like $2,600 to do it. And all of these opportunities, and like that's not my preference. My preference is I want to make money in my business. But I was like, it felt aligned. I was helping a businesswoman that I know serve her clients. And so it felt really good. And I was a helper and I enjoy being a helper. So, anyways, and I started when I dropped the in my business and I just said, I choose to attract more abundance. Money rained from the sky in the weirdest ways. And I, in 8 months, made $6,000 outside of my business and 14,000 unexpected dollars within my business. And all I had to do is let go of the path. All I had to do is put down the binoculars that were so focused on this one channel of abundance that was not flowing the way I wanted, and just say, I'm receiving abundance. Like, and notice where I was receiving abundance in the world. I tracked all my money. I got in the vibration of money. I did all these practices, but I literally made $20,000 extra in 8 months just by dropping the in my business because I let go of the outcome. And so let me explain it to I let go of the path. And notice this will be an important fact for the next slide. My outcome was I'm going to Greece. My outcome was not the money to go to Greece. My outcome is I'm going. I don't care how it comes. So an analogy of when we get too attached to either the outcome or the path is like we order in a restaurant and we tell the wait staff, I want a Western omelet, no toast with a fruit plate or whatever. And then they take our order. But when we're so attached to the path of the outcome, we don't trust that wait staff to communicate the message. And we go back in to the kitchen and we start telling this chef how to make us an omelet. That is what happens. And he, in this example, is the universe when we get so attached to the path. Because I was like, I want money and I only want it if it comes through my business. And the universe was like, oh, okay, well, that's not working right now. So I guess I won't give you anything. You know what I mean? And that's why when we let go of the path and the outcome, it can flow. So you want to be clear and specific. I was clear and specific that I wanted to go on this trip to Greece. And then I let go of the path and the outcome of how it was going to get me there. And honestly, the reason why we let go of the outcome is this or something even better still. Originally, the plan was to spend a week in Greece, and how it worked out, we spent a month on this vacation in Greece, and it was amazing. I was supported in my business. Like literally it was better than my wildest dreams because I was able to let go of the outcome. So this is the first challenge we face in manifestation. And again, these are not necessarily numbered, but they do kind of build on each other a little bit. This is the largest challenge most of us face in manifestation. It's not a real desire. What we want is not a desire. And in order to manifest, like I said, it has to be a real desire. And it's a real desire because You want it because you want it. There's no other reason. There's no secondary intention. Like I wanted to go to Greece, not because I wanted people to like see me in pictures on social media. I wanted to go to Greece because I wanted to experience living on a sailboat. I wanted to see the like beautiful whitewash with blue roofs. Like I wanted to experience that. And so it was a real desire for me. And I didn't, there's no other reason behind it. And again, this is what gets us hung up because money is not a desire and freedom is not a desire either. And that's where so many of us, we want money or we want freedom, but neither of those are like, they're not desires. So money is a vehicle. We talked about your manifestation as a road trip. Money is the vehicle that's going to get you there. But if you're so attached to, I need to manifest the money. When I have the money, then I can go on the trip. When I have the money, then I will feel safe or free or whatever. When we're so attached to the money, it's like we're sitting in a truck stop parking lot being like, okay, I am looking for a horse and carriage. And we're looking around and we're surrounded by race cars with full gas tanks and keys in the ignition, but we're not getting in the race car to go because we're waiting for this horse and carriage that may or may not come. So in that way it's not money we want what money is going to get us. And so I like to ask this question. If you had $1 million, if you were given $1 million today and you can't pay off debt and you can't invest it and you can't give even one penny away and you have a week to spend it, what are you going to spend it on? And by investment, I mean, you can't put it in the stock market or in a bank account. So like how I answer that question is I would invest it in helping my business. I would hire a marketing team. I would, hire a marketing team. I would increase my bookkeeper. I would get another assistant. I would increase and buy some of the software. There's a CRM I want that's, like $500 a month. So like I would invest it in the tools to help me grow my business. I would renovate my house. I would go on a trip. So my real desire is the renovated home, scaling my business, the trips that I would buy. Those are my real desires. It's not the money. And I want to speak to the freedom part too, because isn't freedom and safety aren't desires, because if you were free, you wouldn't want freedom. If you felt safe, you would never think about safety. It's just assumed. So when you want, there's 7 things that you can never manifest, again, because they're not real desires: comfort, control, freedom, independence, safety, stability, and security. And so if what you want, like you want something for this reason because it's going to get you freedom, you're in a problem-solving mindset. You want freedom because you don't feel like you have freedom. And all of those things, when you want those, it means you're coming from a scarcity situation. And what that means is you're trying to move away from something you don't want instead of moving towards something you do want. Like I was moving towards that Greece trip because I wanted it, not I want to move away from, and when I was stuck up with the money in my business, very long story short is I realized when I hit $100,000 in this is what I used to say to myself: when I hit $100,000 in my business, then I can call myself successful. Then I'll be an elite coach. Then I will know that I'm good enough. And so I was trying to move away from not being good enough, not being successful, all these things. I didn't want it because I wanted it. Like I didn't want my business to grow to that level because I wanted to help people. I was trying to move away from something I didn't want. And that's so many of our desires are just trying to get away from the opposite. And it sounds like this when you're saying, when I have the money, then I'll invest in my business. When I lose the weight, then I'll take the boudoir photos. When the kids graduate, then I'll retire and go on vacation or whatever. And this simply says you are in a problem-solving mindset, but the problem or the issue with being in a problem-solving mindset, when you're a problem solver, everything's a problem. And that's like saying when you're a hammer, everything's a nail. And no matter how many problems you fix, you just keep finding more problems to fix. So a manifesting mindset is simply to get clear on what you want and why you want it, to visualize it, and then go for it. Just take action steps regardless of the external circumstances. And I want to take a minute to talk about regardless of the external circumstances. Oftentimes when we go for a goal, we're like working on manifestation of something. This happened in my clinic. I don't have time to get into this story, but when we're going for something, things will pop up, distractions, confusion, maybe schedule changes, freak accidents, family emergencies. And I had this woman that started working with me, and because in the last 3 years, she kept trying. She was a full-time, she was a hypnotist, but she was a full-time mom and had a hobby business on the side. And her kids were old enough that she wanted to be a part-time business owner, part-time stay-at-home mom. And so she kept, in 3 years, she went to launch her business 7 times and had 7 freak accidents and family emergencies. And she knew that there was something going on, because every single time she said, I'm going to launch my business on March 31st, within 7 days of the day that she like set the date, something would happen. And it was always within 7 days, like all these crazy things happen. And so she realized she was not manifesting those negative things, but she was manifesting the time set of choosing that exact moment to launch her business. And where she went, why she got stuck in this problem solving cycle, is she said, when I fix this family emergency, then I'll go back to my business. And it was crazy. Like, her son got in a bike accident and broke both his arms. Her sister was in a car accident and was injured and couldn't drive. And so she became a caregiver. And there was a lawsuit between, she was a bonus mom. There's a lawsuit between families, like all these things that she had no control over. And I'm not saying she manifested those. I don't have time to get into the nuance of it, but she absolutely was controlling and manifesting her timing of using that as a distraction, because she said, when my son heals both his broken arms, then I can focus on my business. And if you're in a manifesting mindset, it doesn't matter what's happening around you. You keep taking baby steps towards your goal. Because I guarantee, even if her son broke both his arms, she could have done one social media post a day promoting her business, or maybe worked with one client a week. She could have kept the momentum going, but she kept getting stuck in this problem-solving mindset. And so as soon as you get into manifesting mindset, things will come up, but you just keep taking action steps on what you want to create. So our third problem. Oh, I am missing a slide in this, so I'll just keep talking about this. I apologize. I copied some things over. I made this presentation a couple days ago. Our third challenge around manifestation is we don't have our identity yet. Again, we don't have the identity yet of the version of us that has what we want. And I want to tell you a story about a man with a boat. And this is a real life story of my mentor, who trained me how to be a magnetic mind coach. This man was a high level entrepreneur, and he lived in some beautiful lake in Australia. And he really wanted this $250,000 speedboat. And what he realized is, for years, for 10 years, he had been working on buying this really fancy boat. And he would make a bunch of money, and then he would lose it. And he would make a bunch of money and his car would break down. He would make a bunch of money and he would lose a partner in his business or something. And so he kept almost having what he wanted, and then he would lose everything. And then he would almost have what he want. And what the end result was is 10 years went by and he still didn't have a boat. He was no closer to owning his boat. So he started working with my mentor and told my mentor the story or whatever. My mentor said, great, go buy a kayak. And he was like, no, I don't want a kayak. I want a speedboat and, whatever. And every penny I save goes towards this boat. And my mentor lovingly said, shut up and buy a kayak. And so this guy bought a kayak and started kayaking and realized the reason why he wanted the speedboat was because he loved being on the water. Like, he enjoyed and that's what he wanted. And so he started kayaking every single day, and lo and behold, his business started thriving. And he was making money hand over foot. And this is not just him, this happens for me and everyone else. He had the identity of a boat owner, and he upgraded from a kayak to a dinghy to a little motorboat. And again, I'm sorry, I don't know boat language, but he basically went from a $500 boat to a $2,000 boat to a $10,000 boat to a $50,000 boat to a $100,000 boat to a $250,000 boat in 18 months. He just kept upgrading his boat. You know why? He had the identity of the version version of him that was a boat owner. And it was just a fancier boat. So the part of him that wanted to keep him safe, and safe is the same as you've experienced before, as soon as he bought that low-cost boat, it was easy for him to just manifest these bigger and bigger and bigger boats and attract all this money because he had the identity of a boat owner. So anyways, that's reason number 3 of why what the challenge around manifestation. And then number 4, again, sorry, I skipped a number in the slides, but we're out of alignment. And that's simply to say we're not in alignment between our conscious thoughts and desires and our subconscious beliefs and emotions. I want abundance, but I was raised living a paycheck to paycheck and there's never enough. So I have beliefs and emotions about money doesn't grow on trees, and, and that's a belief. And then an emotion of what scarcity feels like in my body. And if you've ever had one of those fancy fishing poles that, it's to travel, like they click in half. If you're trying to cast your hook out with a broken fishing pole, it doesn't go very far. And so if we can just and it's our thoughts are what's in alignment, it's what we want. All we need to do is get our subconscious beliefs and emotions to snap in. And that's what I did through visualization and all these things in my clinic. I spent so much time visualizing owning a clinic before I ever took any action steps that my subconscious mind thought I already owned it. And so in that way, I had released my resistance. There was a part of me that believed I already did own it. I had emotions of joy and happiness and excitement. So when we're in alignment and we have our desires and thoughts in alignment with our beliefs and emotions, it's like this fishing pole is set up properly. You can cast out and pull in this hook. And so again, don't go to solve these problems, but really the number one block on manifestation, the thing that's blocking us, is we have traumas or limiting beliefs or whatever, doesn't matter, in our subconscious that are keeping us stuck. And we are already manifesting machines. Here's the problem though. You manifest exactly what you subconsciously believe you deserve. And what you believe you deserve because look around. It's whatever you have in your life now is what you believe you deserve. So we just need to upgrade your belief system, upgrade your emotions so that they can be more in alignment with your thoughts. But what I want to say is I want to make really clear. I'm not saying go fix this trauma, then you can have what you want. When I get rid of this limiting belief, then I can have what I want. Because notice that goes back to hold on, I'll scroll back. That goes back to the when then. The act of looking for the trauma or looking for the belief that you need to change. When you change this belief, then you can have it, is keeping you stuck in a problem-solving mindset. And you can stay in this spiral spinning your entire life, or you can take action on what you want. So anyways, that is the number one block on manifestation, but don't go after the trauma directly. Don't go after the limiting belief directly. Just work on getting in alignment. And how you get in alignment is coming up right now. I'll explain to you. So how you start manifesting, these are the 4 simple steps to manifest. Get clear on what you really desire. And again, this is the real desire you want because you want it. There's no why. You understand the why behind it. And the why is because I want to go to Greece. It's a similar thing to that. You visualize it daily. And by visualization is actually a misnomer because blind people have no visual acuity and they can visualize. So you don't have to be able to play a movie in your mind to be able to visualize. Visualization is actually much more about the sensory experience and the emotions. Whatever you do to get yourself in the emotions and the sensory experience of having what you want already, that is where all the power in visualization is. And like I said, this is how you get in alignment, is if you want something, visualize it, get clear on what it is, and then visualize it each and every day, every single day. And I like to do my visualization while I brush my teeth. I'm already using that 2 minutes in the morning and the evening. I might as well use it to create my dreams. And the reason we do this is the subconscious can't tell the difference between visualization, reality, and media. It really can't tell the difference. And you know this because if you ever watch a scary movie and they go, boo, you jump. Your subconscious thinks it's happening to you right now. So we can use that fact to your advantage Every single time you visualize what you want, you are tricking your subconscious into thinking you already have it, which is why I created the identity of this clinic owner. I already had the clinic. It was only in my mind, but my mind didn't know any better. So I was able to manifest it easily in my real life. The third step in how to start manifesting is release the resistance. This is simply to say, get your beliefs and emotions in alignment with your conscious desires that you want. And resistance could look like fear, self-doubt, procrastination, unworthiness. For me, resistance looks like procrastination, confusion, overcommitment, being too busy to work on important things. And when I just get clear and I can upgrade my beliefs and emotions to be in alignment with my desires, all of that stuff effortlessly disappears. And step number 4 is take action. And I want to speak, well, and I'll leave that for a second. I want to speak to step number 4 because there is a principle. The universe loves quick action. There is literally a phenomenon that the quickest speed from idea to implementation actually increases your likelihood of success in whatever you're manifesting. So, if you feel called to get into quick action around this and you love everything I talked about today, I would love to share with you just really briefly about the Empowered Living membership. This is how I teach people how to be manifesting machines because your dream is waiting for you. Whatever you want to create, like if you have your dream has you. So it's time to get into action if you feel called to. And I teach people how to be manifesting machines, and I have a really special offer because yesterday was the 200th training call in this membership. I've had it open for so long. I have done we have accountability and support calls like planning and reflection every week, every month, every year, but the training calls of 200 different topics I've talked about, I just hit that yesterday. So I'm feeling very inspired to do some special things to celebrate that anniversary. So if you're interested, you can use the QR code. Absolutely. And you can use the QR code, and I'm offering a $125 discount. And if it feels aligned, please use this discount. It's only valid for 7 more days. And here is the link I'll put in the chat in just a minute. But basically, the code is She Boss Rocks because I gave a talk yesterday for She Boss Cafe. I shared the same code. And if you want, the QR code also has lots of freebies and offers. I offer free webinars. You can get on my newsletter to get mindset tips and tricks. So I am just here to support you in achieving your dreams. And if you have any questions, I know we're like right at time, but I would love to support you in answering your questions. Oop. Yeah. And if you want to also share any, and here I'll turn off the recording too.